Welcome back to another episode of All the Shiny. Today's video is a little bit different. We're not testing paints on this video particularly. We're just gonna go with our art haul for the week. Hubby and I went out 2 nights in a row to find cheap art supplies with the $20 or so I had left in my account. And I just wanted to show you what I got. We have 5 pages left on this watercolor journal, and we are just looking for 5 more things to swatch to finish this out. I'm not particularly interested in looking to figure out how to mix colors at this point. I figure I'll get to that eventually. But right now we're just swapping paints for a different project. So our 5 pages left led us to Walmart, and one moment, put that away. I just couldn't find anything there beside that I didn't already have, such as the Crayola paints we sampled last time and the Crazy Art watercolors we sampled one of our past videos. So I have the travel set of Rare Nickel Essentials, and I don't have really any tube paints. I have 3 QR sample tubes, but I don't have any tube paints. So here's a set of tube paints. We're going to sample these out this week or whenever that video gets published. And so I'm going to try 2 things. The last time I had a set of tube paints, they dried out and they were unusable. Like, you couldn't reconstitute them, even though they were watercolors and they were by Artist Loft. And I was just so not happy with the results of how powdery and chalky and gritty the paint was, and then how it just dried and you couldn't like re-wet the paint for any reason. I don't know why. So I almost had to throw out the palette. I couldn't even get the paint back out of the palette. It took weeks of soaking that thing and picking at it to pry pieces out of the palette. It was so weird. So this time we're going to try it with a smaller batch. And if it does the same thing, what we're going to do is we're going to add QR medium to it to see if that will fix it and make these watercolors that cost $5 workable. I've been wanting this Crayola book for a very long time, and I've gone to Walmart a dozen or so times and I could never find it there. I finally found one. It was hidden in another section behind other coloring books, but Epic Book, awesome. How I use coloring books is that I trace the images to paint or do embroidery work. I know this isn't really professional looking, but this is just for fun. So tracing also helps you learn to draw. It helps with muscle memory and spatial reasoning. So don't check it out and think you have to learn how to draw in order to do watercolor or anything else. You can skip a few levels and use someone's artwork as long as you give them credit for their art. So you can use a light box or some graphite paper or whatever you have on hand or want to pick up in order to trace this onto watercolor paper and then to paint with it. And we'll have some tutorials on that, or you can look some up yourself. So that was that, and I'm very pleased with that purchase. This was $5.88. And it was $5.88 on Amazon, so I didn't really save any money, but hey. So then we decided to go to Dollar General. I was not pleased with the paints, and there was $4.50 for basically something that looked very similar to Crazy Art that I got for $1.50. And it had fewer colors in this, and it was $4.50, and I was just like, I can do better than that. So we went to Dollar Tree and we found a craft scraper. So this, I guess they use a credit card to do watercolor to try to lift paint. And that's probably a security risk for doing videos online. So I saw this and I was like, oh yes, we can use this. That's great. I also have some makeup that I wanted to turn into watercolors, so we're going to do that. So I just bought this case to put the makeup in after molding, although I don't have a way to mold it yet. But I will figure that out. And then the Dollar Tree had these Crafter Square palettes. We're going to test them, but from my vantage point, it doesn't look much difference than this. And it probably doesn't have any more paint in it than this. But for $1.25, you know, that's not bad. I put a... Oh boy. I put a chat. I put a thread request for ideas of which super cheap paints to buy. And it got a broad range from cheap to expensive high-grade paint. Telling me just... and a lot of people... And I appreciate there's so many ideas in there, but none of them were within my budget of $20. Of the $20 I had in hand. So I unfortunately wasn't able to add anything on Amazon. And we'll go into the brands a little bit later. So I want to say that some of the brands like Artis and stuff are no longer inexpensive paints. They are pricing them up to the same price as professional grade paints. And in my opinion, if I'm going to spend $15 on a paint palette, I'm not going to go to Arteza or other cheap brands when I can get Da Vinci or Daniel Smith or QOR or other lower professional brands for the same price. So manufacturers out there, I'm sorry, but you're pricing yourself out of cheap arts. The other thing I'm going to say is a lot of people told me that it's ridiculous for me to do this project because this is not the goal of doing art. The goal of art is learning how to be a better artist. And I am just kicking myself and that there's no reason for me to do all this extra work sampling paint. I want to say, for one, I'm a professional artist already. I do graphic digital designs. I have been working with businesses for over 20 years making digital artwork. So I don't need to learn how to be an artist. My goal with this is to deal with some childhood trauma that I had from doing hand-drawn arts. Artwork was forbidden when I was a child, and anytime I had something I had to do for my homeschool courses... Sweetie, come here. I'm right here. The teacher would give me supplies because my stepmother would not let me buy them. And then immediately after I got done with the project, I wasn't allowed to do any other exploration. I had to throw it away, and I was given basically an evening to do the project. And then she would sweep everything into the trash, and that was it. She didn't want that stuff in her house, even though she herself was an artist. And it really confused me as a child, and to be yelled at and screamed at and hit around because I wanted to do artwork as well. And it turns out I'm a very artistic person. But that's beside the point. So to me, to be able to pull out paint or pencils or anything and sit down and draw, there's a massive amount of guilt that I'm wasting my time. There's a massive amount of triggers where I have episodes of panic attacks when I pull out my paints because I feel like, A, I shouldn't be doing this. It's bad. B, I'm lazy and not attending to things that are responsibilities like housework and cooking and bill paying and making money. C, I have panic attacks about the abuse itself, and I never know what's going to trigger it. So me planning out physical works of art still triggers me, and I'll find myself, instead of painting, I'll be sitting here crying. And so part of doing these videos and part of doing the sampling is this doesn't trigger me as much. And when the camera's running, obviously I have to suck it up and keep going on with the videos, whether or not I'm feeling bad at all. And that's sometimes why I go quiet, is because I'm really hurting. And I'll say doing this on camera has really helped. And I'm really lucky for all the supporters out there. It also helps that I'm not trying to plan out artwork. Me just swatching and playing with the paints, it's kind of fulfilling the stuff I didn't get to do, where I got to enjoy the art medium itself and explore the paints and how they work and how they run. It's completely different than digital art, where I can just, hit a back button or grab a code and get the right color or the right shape for whatever it is I'm designing. I don't have that memory in my hands. I have tried, when I did some high school art, I did try, and I was actually very good, almost naturally good at art. And so I am trying to get back to where I had that joy. And it's not so much joy right now because I'm dealing with all that extra pain. Additionally, as an adult, she kept stopping me. Like if I went to buy supplies or I tried to talk to other artists, she would get them to not talk to me and, oh, she's not an artist, blah, blah, blah. She's not capable of this kind of stuff. She's just not. It was really hurtful to be an adult and not have any support whatsoever. Or like be followed to art stores with her yelling at me that I can't do it. It was really creepy. And now as an adult, as someone who's now been a mother, I can't imagine doing that to a child. I can't imagine being that way to a child. You know, when you're a child and that's happening, you don't understand that that's not how it's supposed to be. You don't understand that people are supposed to support you as a child. You're just like, okay, this is the way it is and I have to deal with it. And as an adult, and now as a step-parent myself, I would have never done that to my child. I would have never done that to my stepchild. Like, you know, oh, you're doing that, that's great. Oh, look at all your progress. I mean, I can't imagine being hurtful to a child purposely or trying to stifle them in any interest they had. And so me exploring the paint by doing swatching, by sitting here playing with it on paper and not trying to progress as a physical artist is more cathartic. It's more cheap therapy. I'm not paying a therapist to help me work through this. What are they going to do? Tell me to go paint? I have to literally work through the pain while playing with the paint and in a childish way that I'm not expected. There's nothing expected of me. And so when I go into a group and say, hey, I have this idea for a project, but it's not planning on a piece of art or anything. I just want ideas for something. Be told I'm not doing artsy stuff this way, or this is how you're supposed to be an artist. I mean, come on, people. I'm here to be supported, not be put down. And I can't imagine being that way to people. So thank you so much for your opinion, everyone who told me not to do this project. I'm doing it anyway, because I am a 42-year-old adult, and I don't have to be told that I'm not allowed to paint and color and stuff. I mean, you know, my chores are done. I work 7 days a week. I clean house and I cook and I do gardening and I take care of my home and I pay the bills. And I have a supportive, loving husband who also pays the bills. He pays the majority of the bills, but you know, I do what I can. And if I want to sit down in the evening and paint, or sit down in the afternoon after work and paint before I have to be responsible again, the last thing I want to do is be pushed to have a goal, to have a hard-nosed goal like I have to learn or I have to achieve something. I am perfectly happy exploring how the paints work. They're becoming my friends. They are not hurting me. They're not telling me I'm incapable of doing this. And each time I come across a new brand of paint, they have different levels of opacity, different levels of chalkiness and grittiness, different levels of glossiness. And I'm learning their personalities. I'm learning how they want to be worked into a page. I'm not trying to control them in such a way. And it's very therapeutic to me. So anyone else out there who loves swatching or testing paints, just leave your comment below. If you are going through childhood trauma, I am here for you. I want you to know that I too understand what you're going through, especially when it relates to artwork. So please connect with me. I will like, follow, subscribe, share any of your social media that you want to share with me, and I will watch any of the videos you are deemed acceptable for people to watch. But anyway, so that's what I had to say, and future videos going forward, I'm going to talk about this project. So I've been mulling over for the last 30 days or so what I want to achieve. And I really just love testing products. I love playing with my swatching, because I'm not forced to like do anything in particular. I realized that some of these are where I did the challenges from the group, and to be honest, these were some of the hardest things I had to do, because halfway through I would get so emotional about it. and it was a real struggle to pass through. And so whenever I just have to swatch and I'm just playing with the paint itself, there's a lot less pressure for me, a lot less emotional ties to trauma. And so I'm going to keep doing that. So that's one of the reasons why I'm going to take this book. And I bought some 100% cotton paper, a big pad of it. And we're going to take each of these lessons one at a time. And we are going to divide that paper up into how many paints we have, full things of paint, because like I have this Daniel Smith dot card, and obviously that's only going to do a few paintings. But we'll try to get as many out of this as we can. And I have some other dot card paints. But so we'll go through the paints we have. We're going to divide off the paper, do one lesson, and do it with all the paints separately on the same paper with the same brush. So we can see the difference between chalkiness and transparency and how it lays on the paper and how it runs. I'm not sure if we're going to divide up this lesson and do like 20, 30, 40 different cherries, or we're going to do it in one video and just make it short by speeding the video up so you see me going painting really fast and then pausing and saying and painting really fast. So I haven't decided that, and I have this week to decide because I still have these 5 more pages to swatch this week, and then I have to set up all that, and I have to figure out how to have the room for all the paint out at once, because obviously we're going to come in here every day and have palettes out that are wet, and I need enough room on this tiny table for that. So yeah, that's what's going on, and this is how I'm going to run it. And when I get done with this book, we're going to get a different book. This book with every single paint, and then another book. We're going to go through every single paint that's left. The next swatch book, what I have planned is to do pencil work. So we will be taking watercolor pencils and or different brands of watercolor pencils and crayons and or regular colored pencils and testing them out the same way. It'll be a much cheaper experiment maybe if we do regular colored pencils because, well, you know, the paper's cheaper. Anyway, I am so grateful for everyone who reached out to me too, and even though I didn't ask to be sent paint, went ahead and I had some beautiful people who stopped and said, hey, you know what, I bake paints, would you test my paints in your project? And somebody else who loves swatching paints as well reached out to me and said, you know what, I'm going to give you a bunch of dot cards. I'm personally going to make the dot cards because I would love to see what you're doing. So I really thank you guys. It's a beautiful, beautiful gesture, and I didn't ask for them to give me paint, so I want to be clear about that. They offered, and I'm graciously accepting, as long as there's some mutual way to give back to them. And they both told me how to repay them. Not monetary, obviously, but anyway, and that's all I have to say for today. My additions to art this week is that I did get a spray bottle, and I did find my art clips. I have 2 more somewhere, but they're super helpful, and I will getting this all prepped up. This week we will take those 2 palettes and test them, and the 2 other palettes, and then I still have 1 more page, and I may just go ahead and use these Artist Loft watercolor pencils for this first page, and then also use them in this experiment. But I will be saving up because I want some really professional watercolor pencils, because I used to do a lot of pencil art, and once again I have trauma with that because at the time I was renting from other people. This was when I was single and on my own, and man, people are just so mean, telling me how childish it was and how I need to grow up, and I'm just like, wow, you know, I'm paying the bills. What does it matter what I do in my free time? You need to get a second job if you have free time. I'm like, why? Life isn't about just working all the time. It isn't. You know, we need to live. We're here to live, not to work. But, you know, we need to pay bills and buy food and all that. Anyway, I'm going to sign off here. I have a couple more videos to do. Actually, no, I'm going to do the videos another day. We're going to end this here, and I'm going to clean up, and I'm going to finish cleaning my studio and prepping, and then prep for this project. And I will wish you a great weekend. It's a weekend for me. I don't know when I'm going to publish this video, sometime before the end of the month. And I do hope you like, share, and subscribe for more videos. Pop a comment in the comment section below and let me know if you're dealing with trauma, if you need support. I'm here for you. I'll like, share, and subscribe your stuff. I will comment on your stuff online if I know who you are and where you're at. So hit me up down there. Let me know who you are, your screen names are. And let's support each other, either with trauma or art or whatever. Anyway, have a great afternoon, and I wish you well.